What up? It's Jimmy. This is a clip from our big Super Bowl 55 show starring Rob Bebenek, the whale capper, and the big Ragoo. To check out the entire show, just hit the link from the bottom of the screen. It's available exclusively on odds.com. And let's move on to player props. But to review the totals, we have Ragoo on the second quarter over 17 at plus 106. We have Whale on Tampa Bay first quarter over 6.5 at plus 100. We have Bebsy on first quarter under 10.5 at minus 120. And I'm on the first half under 27.5 at minus 107. Player props, it is. Let's talk about a few of them. And we have a great video out right now starring Dutch Boy Fresh on odds.com on his best looks. He picked 6 player props that he's attacking. Mahomes, 66.3 of his passes during the regular season, 38 TDs, 6 interceptions, passer rating of 108.2. As I said, in the postseason, even though he was knocked out of a game for a quarter and a half, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 73.5% of his passes, passer rating of 118.5. Travis Kelce was Mahomes' favorite target with 105 receptions, 1,416 yards, 11 TDs in the regular season. Tyreek Hill second, 87 receptions, 1,276 yards, 15 TDs. And what you'll see with both of these teams is there's a lot of flipping going on at postseason. Kelce again led the team with 21 receptions, but his 227 yards was surpassed by Hill's 282 yards on 17 receptions. The Chiefs were led by Clyde Edwards-Helaire with 181 rushes for 803 yards, 4 TDs. He injured his hip and ankle in Week 15. And although he came back in the playoffs, he's been barely used. Mahomes was next with 62 carries for 308 yards. Le'Veon Bell was after that with 63 carries for 250 yards, 2 TDs. And then Darrell Williams, 39 rushes for 169 yards. In the postseason, it's been Darren Williams being trusted with the rock. 26 rushes, 130 yards, 1 TD. McCole Hardman is second with 2 rushes for 54 yards. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 6 rushes for 7 yards. And Le'Veon Bell rushed twice for 6 yards, and he's dealing with a knee injury. On the other side, we have Brady. 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, passer rating of 102.2 in the regular season. That's gone down to 90.8 in the postseason. Mike Evans was his favorite target, 70 receptions for 1,006 yards, 13 TDs. Chris Godwin was second with 65 receptions, 840 yards, 7 TDs. In the postseason, it flipped. Godwin leading the way, 14 receptions for 223 yards. And we have Mike Evans getting 10 receptions for 173 yards, 2 TDs. Both Evans and Brown are dealing with knee injuries. It looks like both are going to go. We know that Evans is going to go. It's been Brown that we've been waiting to find out. Then you have Ronald Jones, the leading rusher all year, 192 carries, 978 yards. Fournette only ran for 367 yards, and that's been flipped. Now Fournette has been the go-to guy with 48 rushes for 211 yards in the playoffs, and Ronald Jones only carried the ball 23 times for 78 yards. And we know that Ronald Jones had the pinky finger surgery. He also had caught COVID. So he's been battling a bunch of different things. And one of Dutch's props is he's all over Fournette. He's all over the Fournette over rushes. He's all over the Fournette touchdown. Let's start with the whale capper. It is player props time. Take it away.
So the name of the game in player props, in my opinion, is to try to identify props that are resilient to game state. So regardless, you don't want to necessarily say, oh, I think this is what's going to happen in the game, therefore this prop makes sense. Because if that's what you want to do, you might as well not bet, don't double down on the juice. Just find the best way to attack that in the side of the total market, right? Because it's generally you're paying higher juice for these player props. That said, there are definitely a couple of ways to attack the player prop market, in my opinion, where you're getting something resilient of game state. And the most obvious way is Pat Mahomes pass attempts over. The Tampa Bay run defense is out of this world good. And you know who knows that? Andy Reid. And you know why I know he knows that? Because he had Pat Mahomes throw the ball 49 times the first time these two teams played. And almost without question, with a game state where they were up multiple scores, rather than just go with the conservative plan and run, pass, punt, they continued to throw the ball. And they recognized how important it was to have some effective drives to keep Tom Brady on the sidelines, because they saw Tom Brady picking apart their defense in the second half. So I would expect that you see a very similar conceptual framework here if Kansas City gets a lead where they are passing to put away the game. Similarly, if they are at a deficit, they are almost guaranteed to have a higher, quantity of pass attempts as they try to make a comeback. So that's one that I think is positive either way. The only thing that really threatens it is if Mahomes is so good that he's hitting 70-yard bombs and they only have one pass attempt drive, right? I mean, that's kind of the risk here, and that's why the number is a little low. I'm seeing 41.5 market wide. I make the fair number here 44. So the one that really sticks out to me is Pat Mahomes pass attempts over. Similarly, this seems like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire game more so than a Darrell Williams game. And his numbers are a little deflated because we didn't see him perform especially well in the AFC title game. Also, the Tampa Bay side of the ball, I think Godwin is the guy more so than Evans here. Part of the reason is the Kansas City defense is full of big physical cornerbacks that can match up well against Evans. Evans is much more likely to be a target in the red zone than he is in neutral game state. So I think that it's going to be pretty important for Godwin and Breit to kind of do the dirty work in the middle of the field for the Bucks passing game to have success. So Godwin more so than Evans for sure. And if you can find some matchups where those guys are paired head to head in terms of yardage and receptions, and I like Godwin in both of those markets. But without question, I think the numbers are fair for the big name guys. And if you really want to find value, you got to kind of dig a little deeper and try to find some weird ones.
The pass attempts is perfect for how I see the Chiefs playing here. I'm going to search for the best number I can give you, but that makes a ton of sense. Mahomes pass attempts over, first and foremost. It's a great look. Let's move on to Bebsy. Bebsy, player props. I know that you got very hot on them in the second half of the season, so take it away, Super Bowl 55.
Well, you always feel a little bit better about your choices if somebody like Whale Capper says it pretty much right before you. But my first prop I'm going to lock in is the Evans anytime touchdown for two reasons. Everything Drew just said, I think he's going to be more of a red zone target in this game, specifically against this defense, but also because, look, all year long, we know the Chiefs have not had a great red zone defense. All year long, Evans has been Tom Brady's go-to guy in the red zone. So it just makes too much sense to not take this anytime TD for Evans. The guy is still a monster. Yes, they got big corners who can line up well against him, but just in the red zone, Tom looks to him first. He's got great receivers, but the first guy he looks to is always Evans. So I see that as being very much in play. I also think this is look. I love the way Fournette's playing. It kind of reminds me of the guy we saw at LSU before he got bogged down in Jacksonville. And look, Rojo's been pretty absent down the stretch. Of course, the injuries and the COVID have factored into that. But just the way Fournette's been playing, he looks like he's having fun again. So I'm going to throw down on the Fournette anytime TD as well. Now, again, this is something that Drew just mentioned, but Cameron Breit is listed at – I got him at 28.5 receiving yards. I am going to take that over for two reasons. One, completely agree that he's going to have to do the dirty work in this game, but also the Chiefs have been bad against tight ends all year long. Breit has emerged as a reliable go-to target for Brady. I see him being open early and often. So I just think that's a slam dunk for me. And the last one I am going to take is hang on, I got it written down here. This is the one I'm a little bit apprehensive about because the number's quite high, but I'm still going to do it anyways, and that's Tyreek Hill, 94.5 receiving yards. It's high, but my logic is this. If you're going to slow down one or the other, you can't slow down both Kelsey and Hill. I like the way Hill matches up in this game better than I do Kelsey. Look, Kelsey is the best receiver in the league that lines up at the tight end position. But he's going against Devin White, who's incredibly talented, great coverage grade this year. I just think Kelsey is still going to have numbers. He's still going to have a very good game, but I think Tyreek is going to be the go-to guy in this game, so I'm going to lock that in as well. I just see – look, I don't like Tyreek Hill the person. Tyreek Hill the player is so much fun to watch. I can't think of another receiver that I've seen in my lifetime who gets in and out of his breaks and gets up to top speed again like he does. So I think it's going to be a big, big day for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a huge day for Tyreek Hill. Dutch Boy Fresh got Tyreek in over 92.5. It's moving up quickly. It's a look that I'm going to be on as well. Tyreek Hill and the Mahomes pass attempts. I'm gonna line chop for all these and not just make it officially here, but I'll tweet out what I can find because Whale Capper, your pass attempts at Bet365 is at 40.5, but it's minus 150 juice. And they do that when they don't want you to bet it. They're moving that. That'll be if the more that'll end up at minus 170. They won't move it up because they don't want to get on it.
Yeah. They don't want to get middle.
They're in just to bet it.
Yeah. All right. So we have for Bebsy Evans anytime TD, Fournette anytime TD, Breit over in receiving yards. There is a 28.5. I'll keep looking. Tyreek Hill over 94.5 receiving yards. And now let's go to Doc Big Ragoo. Take it away. Player props.
That Fournette's a pretty popular play, man, because that was one that already played also early on. Just so much going on with Fournette right now throughout the playoffs, the postseason. You know, with Rojo, like Bebs was saying. So that's the horse right now for them. You know, not so much, especially when you get down to the red zone area. You know, you're going to get those short yardage plays. And Brady's basically took the talent of his team and morphed it into his style of football. And he likes the big bruising back. He's got the tight ends blocking. You know, Gronk and Breit. I mean, the running game. I don't think you're gonna see a well balanced attack, but Fournette's gonna play into that catching. You know, he's got the capability to catch the ball in the backfield, short yardage plays, and he could bust one downfield for 20 plus yards. So I like the anytime touchdown too. Also, that's one I had, and I'm gonna take the GOAT. I know it's a kind of a square play here, but I think Brady's gonna get his looks, and I like Brady to throw over 2.5 touchdowns in this game. I know that the sharps are on the other side of that, but I just, I'm not going to bet against Brady, and especially when the game's on the line, I'm going to say he's going to rise up to the occasion. And don't be surprised if he don't hook up with Gronk to break the all-time record touchdowns combination quarterback, and him and Gronk to get that done. Now, one that's I think that's a pretty strong plus number on Brady too for the 2.5 touchdowns. The only thing I'm a little leery of, I don't like laying big minus numbers here, but like to what Bebs and Wellcap were talking about with Kelsey, it's either going to be him or Hill. And I think sometimes with that Tampa defense, they kind of drop in that zone a little bit. I think it's going to open up a lot of short passes for these guys, if they don't get to the quarterback early, not early, but often. And that's going to give Kelsey some good looks, running those little rub routes and across the middle. So I think Kelsey getting 7.5 receptions is a pretty good solid bet. I think it's going to be juiced pretty high, though. I think probably be in the neighborhood of 160, 170. And I'm not a fan of doing that, but I'm going to do it. And the other look I like, hey, Patrick Mahomes, touchdown, baby, plus 220. Just, all he's got to do is do this right across the line. Little fake, jumping in, touchdown. He'll put his body on the line like Whale was saying. It's for all the marbles. I like Mahomes at a big price, score a touchdown.
We have Fournette, anytime TD, Brady, over 2.5 touchdowns. What was the third one?
Kelsey, 7.5 receptions, over.
7.5. receptions over. Those all make a ton of sense. For me, I want to focus all of my player props around Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Kelsey. I agree with I don't need to take Kelsey's yards. I agree with just the pass receptions for Kelsey. And I also don't feel like I need to take Tyreek Hill's receptions, even though I don't dislike him. So I'd rather have Tyreek Hill over in yards. I want Kelsey in receptions. I want Mahomes in pass attempts. I think Whale nailed that. And then I'm going to study a little more with the yards for Mahomes. And then do you think it's possible that Tyreek Hill is disliked enough that if he caught for 186 yards and 2 TDs, they'd still give the MVP to Mahomes?
Yes.
100%. There's
Okay.
like he would have to put up 300 yards, I think, to get the MVP.
He's not on some guys' ballots.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. That's something I just wanted to.
And let's face it, you have to be beyond spectacular to win like a Super Bowl MVP over the winning quarterback. Because, quite frankly, Patrick Mahomes did not earn his MVP last year. If anything, it should have gone to Williams.
Yeah,
He actually was quite terrible until the fourth quarter. He was having an awful game. The only reason they were still in it was because of Williams. So it's really just the winning quarterback trophy now.
Yeah.
Hey, the very first year that they posted odds on MVP, it was the Broncos. The Broncos were playing, right? And then I bet the running back, I figured if he ran for, I forget who it was at that time. Anyways, that was the year
like
that
Elway and Terrell Davis.
Huh?
It's like Elway and Terrell Davis.
No. They didn't take MVP bets back in those days. They only took them a few years back, if you remember correctly. At the Westgate, it was like the first year they took MVP odds. But anyways, long story short, the defensive end got the
Von
35 to 1.
Yeah.
35-1. That was the last time I think the second time an MVP Super Bowl was the defensive guy.
I think that Tyreek Hill over in yards, Mahomes over in pass attempts, and Kelsey receptions could all cash in a loss. That those are 3 props that wouldn't even need a victory to cash.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for.
That's a good time, man.
Yeah,
So-
you want the ones that are resilient to game state, because if it's some years, if you're betting over on yards and attempts, you're better off with your team losing than winning. This isn't one of those years for the Chiefs, though, just because of the way they're so tilted towards the pass. I mean, the yardage props kind of reflect that, right? Like if you add up Williams and Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yardage props, it's like what, 50 yards, 60 yards? So they're not expecting them to get much on the ground. They're only expecting them to, about 15, 20 handoffs total all game. So it's, they're in general, the bookmakers are wise to this.
Whale Capper, would you wait 24 or even 48 hours more before placing these bets because of COVID?
I hadn't really thought of that. My guess at this point is that we're in the situation like the Major League Baseball in Game 7, where even if a guy gets popped in game, we just let it go. That's kind of my thought. They're so close to the finish line. I think they're just ready to let, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. And also, I guess other than the barber, with the COVID thing this week, both these teams have done really well at keeping their guys, on the right side of the protocols and keeping everybody from being exposed. So I don't know that there's really a huge likelihood that anyone is a surprise scratch. I think, if you timing wise is important though for these player props, because if you like unders, just you wait, let them keep moving the juice up, let them move the number up, and sweep in on game day, because really they're mostly just taking one way action on these overs for now, as far as I can tell you.
Oh, without a doubt. If the COVID barber just took me right back to the poison pizza.
It does, yes.
But they stopped it from happening. But it It's just the same thing from Utah, Chicago back in the day. All right, there you have it. There you have it. I'm going to quickly review all the action, and then we are going to say bye to our cappers. So first off, sides. Bebenek on the Buccaneers plus 3.5 at -115. Ragoo Buccaneers plus 145. I'm Chiefs -3, -112. And Whale wants to keep all his cash ready to attack live, which is a really fun way of doing it. In totals, Ragoo second quarter over 17 at plus 106. Whale Tampa Bay first quarter over 6.5 at plus 100. Bebsy first quarter under 10.5 -120. And I'm first half under 27.5 at -107. But I agree, I'm not betting any unders for at least 48 hours, maybe even 60 hours. Boogie Main shouting me out for the Warren Moon jersey. Thank you. He may not have won the Super Bowl, but 5 Grey Cups. Sorry, I should be yelling.
5
Grey Cups in a row.
There's
Tom Brady could never.
There's like 6 teams up here. They all get 5 or 6 per career. So
Come on. Keep it nice. It sounded great. Player props. Whale is on Mahomes. Pass attempts over. The breakdown was absolutely perfect. And then seeing the -150, I was like, of course, they don't want you to bet it. Bebsy's on Evans anytime TD, Fournette anytime TD, Breit over 28.5 receiving yards. I'm going to line shop for this before I tweet this out. Tyreek Hill over 94.5 receiving yards. Ragoo's on Fournette anytime TD, Brady over 2.5 touchdowns, Kelsey 7.5 receptions, Mahomes TD. And I'm on Tyreek Hill over yards, Mahomes over passing attempts, and Kelsey receptions. And that is our final show of the season.